Welcome to Quicksand, the most important news in pharma and biotech this week. The number of new molecular entities approved by the FDA in 2017 has topped the all-time high of NMEs approved in any year except 1996. The 46 approvals so far in 2017 compared to just 22 NMEs approved in 2016, 45 in 2015, 41 in 2014, 27 in 2013, and between 18 and 39 approvals each year dating back to 2005. 1996 holds the record with 53 NME approvals. But the record number of approvals comes as experts, including CDER Director Janet Woodcock, have expressed reservations about tracking NME approvals like a horse race or comparing one year's approvals to another, since the agency is limited by the applications it receives. As far as terminology, the agency said it tends to use novel approvals as opposed to NME, given the growing number of novel biologics approved that are technically not NMEs. The agency said it focuses more on the medical value of approvals as opposed to the number, since being novel does not necessarily mean valuable. A report is forthcoming in early January that discusses the notable novel and non-novel drug therapies approved in 2017. The tracking of NME approvals on an annual basis will always go on, but perhaps there will be better metrics used, especially since so many novel treatments and generic drugs are not included. So far this year, the top 5 selling drugs have raked in a combined value of $48 billion. Coming in at number 1 is AbbVie's Humira. It is expected to bring in $18 billion this year alone. Although Amgen won FDA approval for its biosimilar to Humira in 2016, the drug still isn't on the market. Thanks to an agreement between AbbVie and Amgen, the biosimilar won't be sold in the US until early 2023. While Amgen will market the product in Europe beginning in October 2018, around 2/3 of Humira's total revenue comes from the United States. Slotting into second place is Celgene's Revlimid, which is marketed for blood cancer. It made a total of $7 billion in 2016 and is expected to surpass $8 billion this year. Following on them is Amgen and Pfizer's Enbrel, which is marketed in the US and Canada. The drug is expected to sell about $7.5 billion this year. Taking 4th and 5th place are 2 of Roche's drugs. At number 4 is Rituxan, which has been approved for non-Hodgkin lymphoma, chronic lymphocytic leukemia, and rheumatoid arthritis. This is expected to bring in about $7.5 billion in 2017, despite being expected to fall out of this list next year, largely due to there already being biosimilars for it marketed in Europe, which are expected in the US in the next few years. Last on the list is Herceptin, which has been approved for breast cancer and gastric cancer. This drug is expected to bring in $7 billion this year. Herceptin stays in the top 5 could be numbered. On December 1st, the FDA approved Mylan's biosimilar to the drug. Only a few days earlier, the first European biosimilar to Herceptin won approval. Roche is also suing Pfizer to keep another Herceptin biosimilar off the market. The FDA released a draft guidance indicating that it no longer intends to grant orphan drug designation to drugs for pediatric subpopulations of common diseases except for under certain conditions. Those conditions are if the use of the drug in the pediatric subpopulation are for a valid orphan subset, meaning that use of the drug in a subset of persons with a non-rare disease or condition may be appropriate, but use of the drug outside of that subset, in the remaining persons with the non-rare disease or condition, would be inappropriate owing to some property of the drug. Or if a sponsor can adequately demonstrate that the disease in the pediatric subpopulation is a different disease from the disease in the adult population. The draft guidance is meant to close a loophole that has allowed companies to avoid their obligation to study pharmaceuticals in pediatric populations. According to the draft, Section 505(b)(k) of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act contains a statutory exemption from the requirement to conduct pediatric studies under the Pediatric Research Equity Act for certain drugs with orphan designation. The interplay of the pediatric subpopulation designation and the pre-orphan exemption has created an unintended loophole where a sponsor holding pediatric subpopulation designation can submit a marketing application for use of its drug in the non-orphan adult population of that disease, get a pediatric subpopulation designation for the pediatric subset of the disease, and, due to this designation, be exempt from conducting the pediatric studies normally required under PREA when seeking approval of the adult indication, the draft says. The FDA finalized guidance for sponsors who wish to request a waiver of an in vivo bioavailability and/or bioequivalence study requirements for immediate release solid oral dosage forms based on an approach termed the Biopharmaceutics Classification System, or BCS. The guidance, finalized from a 2015 draft, explains what is necessary for sponsors of investigational new drugs and applicants of new drug applications, abbreviated new drug applications, and supplements who wish to request a waiver. FDA says these recommendations are intended to apply to waivers requested during the IND period and the NDA stage or for ANDAs. That is, subsequent in vivo BA or BE studies of formulations after the initial establishment of the in vivo BA of immediate release solid oral dosage forms during the IND period and in vivo BE studies of immediate release solid oral dosage forms in NDAs, ANDAs, and supplements to these applications. The BCS, FDA explains, is a scientific framework for classifying drug substances based on their aqueous solubility and intestinal permeability. The FDA released draft guidance intended to help applicants and manufacturers of certain licensed biological products in determining which reporting category is appropriate for a change in chemistry, manufacturing, and controls information to an approved biologics license application. Based on a tiered reporting system for specific changes, the 43-page draft provides applicants and manufacturers with general and administrative information on reporting and evaluating changes and recommendations for reporting categories. When finalized, the guidance is intended to supersede the document Guidance for Industry, Changes to an Approved Application Biological Products from July 1997. The draft features sections on types of reporting changes, special considerations, a glossary of terms, and an appendix of examples of post-approval manufacturing changes and recommended reporting categories. Thank you for listening to Quicksand, Episode 11, December 25th, 2017.